Last survivor of the Nostromo. Signing off.
Hi guys, and as you know, Alien Isolation is coming to the Nintendo Switch very soon. We've been lucky enough to get our hands on a few copies of the game for early preview, and as such, I'm going to bring you this early performance review because, let's be honest, that's going to be one of the main things many of you are looking out for. Focusing on the performance in both docked and handheld, and any other extra juicy features we've got on the Nintendo Switch version. Is it just another lazy port, or is this one worth seriously considering? Let's find out. Okay, so what initially grabbed me straight away were how crisp and clear the cutscenes looked, but having seen this done before in other titles whereby they just used videos of other versions of the game, as we saw in Hellblade, I wasn't exactly sure if the in-game visuals were going to be quite so crisp, and to my surprise, when the game actually allowed me to take control of Ripley, everything is very crisp indeed. Textures look decent and the lighting effects are very well ported over to the Switch version. Dynamic shadows exist on all objects in the environment, however your character does not cast a shadow. In terms of the anti-aliasing, so that's the jaggedy edges on everything, they haven't used too harsh an anti-aliasing method to my eye. They very often use TXAA, which can cause the whole world to look very blurry, but they like to apply this a bit heavy-handedly, especially if the resolution's quite low. However, here it's looking to be decently crisp and sharp, with a locked 30 frames per second at all times. In terms of that docked performance then, I'd say that there are nary a slowdown, so it really is keeping that 30 at almost all times. What's very nice to see is that this carries over to handheld, as you can see on the screen, and in fact many of the reflective surfaces also carry over to this mode. I didn't notice any real downgrade. Now, in a game like this, unlike something like, say, The Witcher 3, it's actually much easier on the Nintendo Switch, as you don't have many characters running around, and the actual environments themselves are very small spaces. And this works really well. It makes everything seem so very crisp and clear. And if you've come from playing games like The Witcher, they really do contrast strongly in terms of that clarity. One of the main things that makes the game so good, other than the visuals and lighting, is the audio, and that has also carried over excellently. I didn't notice any downsampling, so everything sounded quite high frequency, but just take a listen for yourself.
Looks like the dry dock bay is screwed.
I can't bring the Torrens into that.
I'm here. I'm right here. Verlaine!
As for the control methods that have been implemented, well, my absolute favourite for any game that has first-person perspective are the motion controls. And yes, you can start spamming the comments with, "Oh, nobody uses motion controls." Well, I do, and I like them. And this is probably one of the best implementations I've seen so far. So how it works is, when you hold in the LZ button, this acts as your aim, but when you haven't got a weapon in your hand, it will also allow you to look around freely. You can still move with the right stick to take over that control, but the motion controls here are very well done. I didn't notice any drift at all, and it seems to have quite a nice bit of sensitivity to it without having the shaky cam. So they've done a good bit of smoothing to the camera, but it's still feeling very responsive as well. It might seem like a small thing, but if you've played any other game that uses motion controls on Switch, you'll know how very often they tend to drift across the screen. And by implementing a dead zone of sorts, they seem to have eliminated that problem. You can also take your finger off the left LZ and just return to using the normal camera with the right stick. Load times seem to be decent as well. I wasn't overly concerned about the length of the initial load time, and obviously it's a game whereby the world is quite large as you progress through it, and the load screens are accompanied by some really nice retro visuals. But after having played Pine earlier this evening, I can tell you these are nowhere near the load times that game has at the moment. I'm really impressed. I was saying to Glenn as well that it seems to me that this is probably one of the most like-for-like games in terms of the ports we've had on the Nintendo Switch. Yes, it might be something to do with the fact that the world's so dark that you can't really see so much, but I'm a long-time PC gamer and I'm used to pixel peeping to see the blurriness and the cut corners and everything in terms of the volumetric lighting and small details like smoke and sparks look excellent. So there we have it really. In terms of performance, if that's what you were looking for on the Nintendo Switch version, they've done an absolutely great job. Now, our full review of this will be dropping either tomorrow or the day after, but you can rest easy if this was a game you were looking forward to. Now, hopefully we see a physical version come to the Switch, because that will be the icing on the cake. But just sat here tonight playing in handheld mode, oh, it's a very scary experience with a set of headphones on. Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm not enjoying it at all. Thanks so much for watching. A big thanks to our patrons. Let me know down in the comments if you've got any questions for me. And as always, for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!